When learning to work effectively with clients with varying identities and beliefs, it is important for counselors to engage in advocacy and build respectful relationships. This makes me consider, what does it truly mean to see another person? Not just to hear their words, but to understand their experiences that form their identity, beliefs, and systems that have shaped their lives. As counselors, we work with people from many different backgrounds. Our clients may differ from us in race, ethnicity, religion, spirituality, age, gender identity, sexual orientation, socioeconomic status, ability, political beliefs, and countless other aspects of identity. These differences can enrich the counseling relationship, but also challenge us to think beyond our own experiences and assumptions. To work effectively with clients who hold varying identities and beliefs, counselors must do more than provide empathy and active listening. We must engage in advocacy and cultivate respectful relationships that honor the dignity and lived experiences of every client we meet. According to Sue et al. 2020, multicultural counseling competence involves awareness of our own cultural identities and biases, understanding the worldviews of our clients, and developing culturally appropriate intervention skills. This can help us from imposing our own bias and recognizing where we may need to learn more in the future in order to create effective counseling relationships. Respectful relationships begin with cultural humility. Cultural humility recognizes that no counselor can ever become an expert in another person's life experience. Instead, we approach clients with curiosity, openness, and a willingness to learn from their perspective, rather than assume from what we may already believe to know based off of our experience. We let the client be the expert on their own lives. Imagine a client who identifies strongly with their religious faith. Another client may identify as atheist, yet another client may be questioning their spiritual beliefs altogether. This means that our role is not to judge or persuade accidentally or purposefully. Our responsibility is to create a safe space for all where they feel respected and understood, especially since they may not have that outside of our sessions. When a client feels safe enough to bring their full identity into the counseling session, trust develops, and that's when we will know whether or not the client feels respected. Respect alone sometimes cannot be enough. Counselors must also recognize how social systems can impact the lives of their clients. Many individuals face barriers related to discrimination, prejudice, poverty, ableism, racism, sexism, ageism, or other forms of oppression. These challenges do not stay outside of the counseling office. They often contribute to stress, trauma, anxiety, depression, and other mental health concerns. This is where we could use advocacy. The counseling profession has increasingly recognized that mental health is connected to social justice. Ratz and Greenleaf 2018 explained that counselors have an ethical responsibility to advocate for their clients when systematic barriers negatively affect their well-being. Advocacy means helping clients access resources, amplify their voices, and working to address inequities that contribute to the distress. We can also use advocacy at multiple levels. At the micro level, counselors can advocate directly for individual clients. For instance, we may help a client locate affordable housing, connect with community services, or navigate educational or healthcare systems. At the meso level, counselors collaborate with schools, organizations, and communities. So we can come into contact with communities that may be in their area and learn ways that the client can be helped. They may provide consultations or create culturally responsive programs. At the macro level, counselors engage in broader social change efforts. This may include supporting policy reform, conducting research, or promoting awareness. At the same time, advocacy must be done respectfully. One misconception is that advocacy means speaking for clients, when in reality, effective advocacy often means empowering clients to speak for themselves. We can help clients find their own voice and advocate for themselves, making the client relationship and counselor relationship stronger as we can find ways to advocate together to show the client they are not alone. We can do this by asking what support would be most helpful to you, what barriers are you experiencing, or how can I assist you in reaching your goals. This allows for the client's autonomy. Working effectively with clients of varying identities and beliefs also requires ongoing self-reflection. Counselors must continually educate themselves and examine their own assumptions, biases, and cultural perspectives. Even though we may have our own cultural experience, that does not mean that just because we come from the same city or even may have the same race, ethnicity, that does not mean that we have the right to compare, because everyone has their own experiences, which is why it is important to always be open and listen. The process can sometimes feel uncomfortable, but it is necessary. Growth often begins with self-awareness. When we as counselors commit to lifelong learning, cultural humility, and advocacy, we become better equipped to serve increasingly diverse communities. So again, what does it mean to truly see another person? For counselors, it means recognizing that every client carries a unique story, and it means honoring their identities and beliefs without judgment. We can understand how social systems influence their experiences, and it means using our skills, knowledge, and influence to advocate for equity and access when barriers stand in their way. When we combine cultural humility and meaningful advocacy, we can help create a profession and a society where every individual feels seen, heard, and valued.